Monday morning, August 8, 2005. Fortaleza on the northeast coast of Brazil. A bank employee steps into the vault of a central bank branch, one of the most secure rooms in the entire country, and finds a hole in the floor. Not a crack. A hole cut clean through more than a meter of steel and reinforced concrete, opening into a tunnel that should not exist. Overnight, someone had removed around 164 million reais, roughly $70 million, in cash. No alarm had sounded, no door had been forced, no lock had been picked, because the robbers never touched a door. For 3 months, they had been digging toward this exact spot. This is the greatest bank robbery in Brazilian history, and the tunnel was the easy part. Start with what they were up against. This wasn't a corner bank, it was a branch of Brazil's central bank, the institution that handles the nation's own currency. The vault was built exactly the way you'd imagine: heavy reinforced walls, a sealed door, alarms and cash held deep inside a structure designed to survive a direct assault. And unlike most great heists, this crew had no insider. No employee feeding them the codes, no safety inspector who'd mapped the blind spots. From the outside, the vault was a solid box with one heavily guarded way in, and that way in was closed to them. So they asked a different question. Not, how do we get through the door, but what if we never go near the door at all? Every wall of that vault was built to stop someone coming in. Almost no one builds a vault expecting someone to come up through the floor. A few buildings down the street from the bank, the gang rented a house, close enough to reach the vault underground, far enough to look like nothing at all. But a plan like this creates a problem almost immediately, and it's not the digging, it's the dirt. Reportedly, over the following months, they would excavate tons of soil and move it out of that house in broad daylight, in a busy part of the city, without a single neighbor thinking twice. Move that much earth out of an ordinary home and someone calls the police. So they gave the neighborhood a story that explained everything. They set up a front, a landscaping company, synthetic grass, gardens, soil. A business like that is supposed to have trucks coming and going, men in work clothes and bags of dirt leaving the property every day. The perfect cover isn't the one nobody notices, it's the one that makes the suspicious thing look completely normal. For weeks, the most incriminating evidence of the robbery, the earth from the tunnel, rolled past everyone in plain sight, disguised as a gardener's day job. And below, the real work. Reportedly, over about 3 months, working in rotation, the crew carved a tunnel running roughly 80 meters from the house toward the bank. That's not a crawl space scraped out with hand tools. This was engineered. According to investigators, the tunnel was lined to keep it from collapsing, wired with electric lighting, and, because digging underground in the heat of northeastern Brazil is brutal, even fitted with a system to move air and fight the temperature. Men could work down there for hours. But the hardest part of an 80-meter tunnel isn't the length, it's the aim. Dig underground with no windows, no landmarks, and you can drift meters off course without ever knowing. This crew had to steer that tunnel, blind, through the earth beneath a city street and arrive not just near the bank, but directly under the vault. A few meters short, and they'd surface into a wall or a basement. They didn't miss. They came up in precisely the right place, the underside of the vault floor. Then they waited for the weekend. The bank would close on Friday, and no one would set foot in that vault until Monday. 2 full days where the most secure room in the branch would sit completely unwatched, from the inside. From beneath, they cut upward through the vault floor, reportedly more than a meter of steel-reinforced concrete, using professional cutting tools. And then the floor of one of the most secure rooms in Brazil simply opened from below. Inside was the cash, but here's the detail that shows how carefully these people thought. They didn't grab everything in sight. Reportedly, they deliberately took used, non-sequential banknotes, the bills whose serial numbers don't run in order and can't be easily traced or frozen. They left newer, trackable money behind. They wanted clean cash, and they took the time to choose it. By the time they were done, around 164 million reais had gone down into the tunnel and out through the house. Then they vanished, and the vault sat there, breached and empty, all weekend, while the bank and the country had no idea anything had happened at all. Until Monday morning, and that hole in the floor. When it was discovered, the robbery stunned Brazil. The sheer scale, the engineering, the audacity of tunneling into the central bank itself. And just like the Dunbar crew in Los Angeles, this gang had done the hard part almost flawlessly, and then got undone by what came after, because untraceable cash still has to be spent. Investigators started watching the money and the spending. Reportedly, a suspiciously large purchase of vehicles paid in cash helped point the federal police toward the crew. The arrests began within days of the discovery, and they didn't stop. Over the years that followed, more than 100 people would be arrested in connection with the robbery. But the police weren't the only ones who knew the gang was sitting on tens of millions in cash that could never be reported stolen in the normal way. And that made the robbers themselves a target. In the aftermath, members of the crew were hunted, not by detectives, but by other criminals looking to simply take the money. The man reported to have been the mastermind, Luis Fernando Ribeiro, was kidnapped. A ransom was paid. He was killed anyway. Think about that. He solved a problem the entire security of a national bank was built to make impossible, and it bought him only months. In the end, the federal police recovered only a fraction of what was taken, reported at around 32 million reais over time, out of roughly 164. The overwhelming majority of the money from the Fortaleza tunnel has never been found. It's still, somewhere, out in the world. The Dunbar robbery was about a man who was trusted with a vault's secrets. Fortaleza was the opposite, a crew that was trusted with nothing, and so they refused to play the vault's game at all. They didn't find the weak point in the door. They decided the floor had never really been a wall. And for a few days in 2005, the most secure room in Brazil had no bottom. Next week, a robbery pulled off in front of a live security team who were watching the whole thing happen, and still couldn't stop it. Subscribe, and I'll see you then.